Our first speaker today, it's my great pleasure to introduce to you Edward J. Goldberg, who is Senior Vice President of External Affairs at Macy's. Edward is on our board of the BBB. He's a vice chair as well. His bio is in your kits. I'm not going to read it. I'd like you to all read it at your leisure. But let's just say he has done just about everything at Macy's. And he still does. He's influential. He's involved in the community affairs of New York City. Every time I speak to Ed, he's going somewhere, doing something, always involved with some incredibly important topic in the city. And he's just a remarkable leader. And I can speak just from our own perspective, at the BBB. So I'm really delighted that he's agreed to speak with us today about how Macy's has developed strategies to manage its risks and build its hugely successful brand. So please join me in welcoming Ed Goldberg. You can put this on to make it easier.
Sure. Great. Very good. Good morning, everybody. I assume you can hear me? Okay, very good. Just before we get started, so many of you in the audience today are professionals in what you do, and so your experience in what we're going to talk about today is certainly not unfamiliar to you. But Rhonda, our chairperson, was nice enough to introduce me to 4 interns that she has working for her this summer. And so, in a sense, I'm going to direct a lot of my remarks to you, because brand identification, brand sustainability, and things of that nature are really something that's going to be a major part of your life, no matter what industry, no matter what field of endeavor you go into. It's going to be part of your life, so listen closely. Good morning, everybody, and I want to thank both Claire and Luana and the rest of the folks, of course, at the Better Business Bureau for giving me the opportunity to speak with you today about managing risk factors and the opportunities to build the brand. I promise not to make this an infomercial about Macy's, but you have to understand that 40 years of my life has been spent there, and certainly there are many things that I would reference from my organization that I think perhaps would be of interest to you. I'm sure that everyone in the room today, regardless of the industry, will agree that the brand is truly everything, that all of us are charged, no matter what company we work for, in protecting the brand. It's our responsibility to promote it and obviously continue to protect it as we continue to travel on in the 21st century. Just a quick word about brand sustainability, or the word sustainability. By dictionary, it means to support, it means to maintain or cause to continue, it means to endure. This October, Macy's will be 156 years old. And no, contrary to public opinion, I was not there at the beginning. But the name and our brand has endured for these many years. Our brand and our trademark, as everybody knows, is the Red Star. And certainly that has endured for this 156 years. Recently in our building, I had the privilege of hosting 12 reporters from the People's Republic of China. And they were very interested in learning a lot about Macy's and things that we could share with them in terms of our operation. And they were all newspaper reporters, media reporters, digital reporters. And I brought them through our executive headquarters. And we're very proud of certain rooms that we have. They really do date back many years. Lots of antiquities and things of that nature. But they kept looking at one mural we had on the wall that had all these little red stars. And at first it didn't click in my brain, but then I realized that they kept gathering around it, and then I finally said to them, I said, you have to understand, we had the Red Star long before you did. And as we continued to tour and go through, I explained to them that R.H. Macy, as a very young man between the ages of 16 and 20, served on a whaling vessel. And in typical fashion in those days, he tattooed himself like many other sailors. And his tattoo was a red star on his wrist. And that red star, as he went on into the field of retailing years later, became his brand. And so, even though the company has gone through many trials and tribulations over the years, and there truly are not any Macy family people involved or left in terms of the operation of the company, The Red Star is the major gift, besides obviously inventing the company, but the major gift that we have today, and one of the most crucial possessions, one of the most important possessions that we have. It's our brand. And if you think about it, that brand has been maintained through the Civil War, the Spanish-American War, World War I, the stock market crash, the Great Depression, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Desert Storm, 9/11, Iraq, Afghanistan, and even the major economic downturn in 2008. And yet it has sustained itself, it has endured, and you bet it is true sustainability, brand identification, brand value, absolutely. But let's jump to recent events, 2008 that I mentioned. In 2008, and nobody has ever accused Macy's of garnering a whole bunch of financial geniuses. That's not really our business. But we certainly saw the handwriting on the wall when it came to the economy and what was going to happen. And so we made some major decisions in that year, and that was to consolidate our company. Up until that point in time, we had had 4 or 5 divisions throughout the country, from West Coast to East Coast. And we operated with separate boards, we operated with separate executive committees, buying lines, and things of that nature. And we realized that if we were going to survive the future, we had to re-engineer ourselves. And re-engineer is what we did. And obviously, we brought all of our people into New York to the central location, made New York the center of our universe, and we have never looked back. But the one thing that sustained us through it all was that brand identification. Macy's, the Red Star. Macy's, the Red Star. Terry Lundgren, our chairman, even looked at each of us and said, when you get up in the morning as executives, your first job is to protect the brand. Your second job is your day job. And Terry even took on the title, besides being the chairman and CEO, but to become the chief customer officer as well, so that everybody understood within the organization how serious we were about what we were to the public and what our brand was to the public. In order for any organization to be successful, you must have good leadership. That leader has to have a vision. The management team must be willing to follow that leadership. And obviously, Terry is one of those people that is very dynamic. As a matter of fact, we tease him and refer to him as the rock star of retailing today. But the truth of the matter is, Terry has become, in New York particularly, and of course in other capitals as well, synonymous with the brand Macy's, the Red Star. And to quote Terry in a recent conversation that he had, in support of our brand, we promise appropriate actions on a wide variety of subjects, including environmental sustainability, product sourcing, consumer choice, community support, diversity and inclusion, employment, and corporate governance. So even though you see us as retailers, you understand that we have a major responsibility to the communities, the cities, the country that we serve. And indeed, all of those factors that I just mentioned are what is so critical to establishing support for the brand. In doing so, we seek to present a holistic picture of our role in society and how we support our brand and the common good that we bring to it. Our company has accomplished much. However, it is important to note that we have plenty of opportunity to improve. There really is no finish line when it comes to corporate social brand responsibility. Rather, we must keep moving forward and innovating. This is why we measure the progress in these areas and report on it and as open as we possibly can be to the consuming public. Today, we've all learned that as good as one brand is, it can be easily tarnished by poor decision-making, a lack of willingness to make changes, or external events that may be far beyond your control. And I'll repeat that again. As good as one brand can be, it's easy to be tarnished by poor decision-making, lack of willingness to make changes, or external events that may be part or not part of your own making. So therefore, it's incumbent upon all of us that work for our companies, our respective organizations, to keep management involved, to make decisions that obviously look at both responsibility and what it means to your corporate business plan on a daily basis. Here are some brand issues that you must be aware of and remember when you apply it. And this is not just in the retail industry. This is how you build and protect a brand in any industry. Number one, developing sustainability initiatives. Sustainability today is on everybody's lips. It's everywhere you go. It's in every advertisement you see. From Macy's point of view, we maintain steadfastly are committed to sustainability. We have made significant progress in all fronts over the past several years, and we continue to look for ways to minimize the environmental impact. As a leading national retailer with a significant workforce, we have the opportunity to make meaningful differences in improving the environment, and we do so every day. We must, however, operate within the bounds, of course, of good decision-making, good business decision-making, so that each action we take is measurable and sustainable and enduring. None of the fluff. It has to be real. It has to be quantifiable. Otherwise, you can't really put it in the sustainability column. In order for our consumers and our associates to believe in our commitment and our dedication to this critical arena, we have to describe to certain points. We call it the 5-point action plan. Number one, we will be aggressive in our drive to eliminate wasteful behavior. In some cases, this requires consistent application of very simple principles, such as reminding our associates to turn off lights when rooms are not in use, to print fewer hard copies of emails, to recycle waste, to optimize facility performance, and to use mass transit when commuting to work. Sounds simple, but when you have 176,000 people like we do, it's not always easy to accomplish. Number two, we reduce the use of scarce resources in a meaningful way. Macy's pursues ongoing programs to consume less electricity, less water, reduce our waste stream, source more of our power from renewable sources such as solar energy. We will use fewer paper-related products, if you can believe that, in retailing, recycle more, and seek to use paper with post-consumer waste. We'll also work to migrate more of our output from paper and electronic digital media, including large-scale projects such as monthly consumer billing statements. We mail out something in the neighborhood of 35 million statements a month, and obviously that's all paper. So believe me when I tell you that our customers take note of these policies and hold us accountable, and when they make decisions as to where they're going to buy, where they're going to make their purchases, this is something that they look at and say, this is a responsible company, and if not, then they vote with their feet and go to the competition. Number three, whenever possible and sensible within the context of our business requirements, we will pursue the most environmentally friendly solutions. We'll be as aggressive as possible, changing for the better to preserve endangered forests, wildlife, water quality, and ecosystems. We'll explore ways to make our shopping bags, our gift boxes, our wrapping tissue, merchandise hangers, and other staples of the retailing from recycled and certified sources. These are all very, very important actions to take. And when you think about the fact that Macy's has 850 stores nationwide, plus our Bloomingdale's division, you realize that we do have a large impact on, obviously, not just the sustainability, but the ecology system as well. Number four, we'll take a comprehensive approach to sustainability involving everyone around us. We'll advocate sustainability and renewability with our vendors, associates, and customers. This will include developing supplier sustainability standards and promoting eco-friendly products to our customers. We encourage our associates to ask them to support our initiatives with their ideas, their energy, personal actions, and volunteer time. All of this obviously adding to the brand protection. We will measure what we do. Point number five, we will measure what we do and strive towards quantifiable goals. Too many times, especially in this whole ecology sector, there have been too many numbers that never add up. And if you don't add up correctly, you put your brand at risk. So these action points that I mentioned are very, very important, but must be true to the brand value. Another critical area of focus which has a major impact on brand is our retail product sourcing. There's no shortage of talk about obligation of public companies to be socially responsible to the people and communities where they do business. At Macy's, we hold those same beliefs, along with the belief that actions speak louder than words when it comes to helping tackle some of the toughest problems facing us today. In order to protect and support the brand, it's necessary to adopt those practices, protect the brand, and minimize the risk to the integrity of the company. In retailing, some really good examples would be, number one, human trafficking and slavery. Number two, factory and audits. Three, training. And four, vendor-supplier code of conduct. All of these things add into your brand value. I won't mention the names of companies that have been called out over the years now because of the fact that they could not respect these practices, and whether it be here in this country or obviously in the many foreign countries that we do business with. Since 1995, Macy's has a stringent vendor and supplier code of conduct program. It sets out all the standards and specifics, all the requirements, so that the vendor absolutely has no problem in understanding what we expect from that vendor. All the company vendors are required to agree in writing to comply with a company's code of conduct. Among other things, the code requires that suppliers of Macy's private brand merchandise allow unannounced factory audits and inspections so that we can back up the numbers that we have. Just a quick word about human trafficking and slavery. I mean, companies should not tolerate the involvement of its suppliers in human trafficking anywhere. Now, these become not just business issues, they are political issues. But I think it's important that every company take a stand when it comes to that type of abhorrent behavior. Factory audits, very, very critical. It's one thing to say in writing or in an email or in a phone conversation, I'm going to do it. It's another thing to make sure that the practices are being carried out. And indeed, Macy's has a complete unit that dedicates itself to, not only in this country, but going overseas and looking at the vendors, how our goods are being manufactured, and by whom. Training is critical. Training is something that you do day in and day out. Training is part of your brand. Training is part of your reinvention every single day. And all of our overseas offices and our senior management are actively engaged with the suppliers and factories and our vendors in our code of conduct. And we continue to enforce this on a daily basis. Next is consumer choice. In a free society, as eclectic and ethnically varied as ours, customers expect and demand a range of choices that meet their individual needs and their preferences. In our role as retailers, we recognize that it's the consumer who ultimately determines what products will continue to be viable retail offerings. Those decisions are made daily at the cash register by the individual consumers and function as a singularly effective barometer for determining what we will sell and what we will not sell. Position on conflict minerals is one particular issue. As retailers, we are committed to ensuring that metals and other minerals contained in private brand products we sell are obtained, produced, and used in an environmentally, socially responsible manner. As such, we are working to implement and ensure full compliance with Section 1502 of the Dodd-Frank Act and the Security and Exchange Commission guidelines relating to trade conflict minerals. Source Intelligence, an outside firm with specialized experience in mapping and tracing supply chains, is supporting compliance initiatives for our company. Position on furs. While we respect the views of individuals who choose not to buy or wear fur, we also respect the wishes of others who are interested in wearing fur. So obviously it's very important for us to monitor this very closely. In labeling, Macy's requires all of its vendors to comply with all labeling laws. In the case of labeling fur and fur-trimmed products, our vendors are required to meet the requirements of the Fur Products Labeling Act so that there can be no confusion in terms of the products. When it comes to selling, our department stores try to be responsive to the customer expectations, particularly in the highly competitive environment today. Fashion, value, service are the principles in which we are really focused. The consumer will ultimately determine whether fur will continue to be a viable product in the American retail marketplace. If no one wants to buy fur, we won't sell it. But at the same time, if there is a market for it, we certainly, in a limited areas, will sell it. Dog and cat, a lot of people have commented about that. Our company has a standing policy against selling any of that kind of dog or cat fur. Our purchase orders require that all products be labeled correctly, and any violation of any of these policies would be immediate dismissal of the vendors. So you can see from that standpoint, looking at those 5 points that I mentioned, we have a very comprehensive program that indeed addresses those particular issues. In a note that Luana sent to me regarding this morning's address, she said was to frame the day discussing how business leaders can ask the right questions and get the right processes in motion to ensure that the business operations build positive value and the negative factors are identified and minimized or avoided as much as possible. So a major area in the field of retailing is the selling of socially responsible products. Several exclusive merchandising initiatives at Macy's involve products with a focus on international and social responsibility. 3 examples will be our Macy's Path to Peace, the Rwandan basket program that we're very proud of, that has been in existence now since 2005, and that we have sold millions of dollars, which has really helped to rebuild the country of Rwanda. The unfortunate earthquake that took place in 2010 in Haiti, we developed the Macy's Heart of Haiti, where we deal with Haiti vendors, indeed in helping them rebuild their country as well. And finally, the Good Weave Association, whereby we are only making sure that we're buying rugs that are not made through child labor and things of that nature. So that's very responsible programming. Community support. Macy's supports thousands of nonprofits throughout the country. This is also very important to your brand. Obviously, the consumer is not just interested in the fact that you have a bricks and mortar store or an internet business. It's what do you do for the community as well. Our philosophy is if our community is healthy, our business will be healthy. So it's incumbent upon us to continue to invest in the community in those functions and those programs that obviously most benefit the community itself. And we do that through our cause marketing program. For instance, many of you will be familiar with our national program of Go Red for Women, where we have raised millions of dollars for women's heart issues. Reading is fundamental, RIF. We have been very active throughout the past 2 decades in that program. Shop for a Cause, where we raise money for various organizations that are localized to our stores throughout the country. Thanks for sharing. And finally, the Bloomingdale's Pink Campaign. We strongly believe in the collective health of all our communities. And as I said, the best way to keep your business healthy is to keep your community healthy. Diversity and inclusion, another very important part of your brand. Diversity and inclusion are at the core of Macy's approach to doing business. It touches on all areas of our company. We expect our associates, our advertising, our in-store presentations, and the companies with which we do business with to mirror the diverse multicultural marketplace we serve. From our associates to our executives, today we have 75% of our workforce are women. And when you look at more than 73% of our management level executives are women. 52% of our associate team are minorities and 39% of our management team the same. It's a crucial part of our diversity strategy, but also very much a part of our brand. We also ask our suppliers to subscribe to the same principles, so that indeed we feel that the partnerships that we develop are comfortable and at the same time realistic in terms of the communities that we are serving. Our commitment to the communities where we live and work is a key component of our holistic diversity plan. Our mission to develop solid, meaningful relationships with our communities, working with community leaders, elected officials, local organizations are all part and parcel of what we do in terms of not only the brand, but the sustainability of Macy's itself. Employment, Macy's prides itself on being a good employer in every location where we do business, with competitive pay, benefits, and caring, service-oriented work environment. We now have a new veterans development program, which has been very successful. We continue to work, obviously, with schools and universities and developing training programs. And there are many that will tell you that in the retail industry itself, the Bloomingdale's Macy's training program is one of the best executive training programs that exist today. But again, all part and necessary of sustaining and building the future for our brand. So indeed, in closing with my remarks, the last thing would be corporate governance. And we strongly believe in good corporate governance, transparency in our financial reporting. The company's board of directors and management are committed to the highest standards of corporate governance, and this is so important in terms of protection of the brand. And it is the cornerstone, the foundation of what you continue to build your company with. So in closing, I hope that you realize it is easier to promote and sustain brand health than it is to have to repair it. That you as an individual executive in your company have a major responsibility to ensure that at all phases of the work you take the necessary steps to build brand value, and to protect it with careful and thoughtful programs and decision-making. There's no secrets here, just a willingness to do the right thing and apply 21st century principles to your work. So thank you for taking the time to listen to me, and I'll see you all at the fireworks. What efforts has Macy's made to have lines of clothing products that are made in the USA, made of parts and materials that are made in the USA, where we generally don't have to worry about, obviously, the human trafficking and things like that? We have a program that has been designed to source locally. I didn't go into it in depth because time would not allow me to do that. But indeed, one of the things that we have been working very closely with most of the major organizations, NMSDC for one, is to find vendors who are producing locally and then to support those vendors in that same type of program. One of the things that we're doing right now is to develop a program or a concept that we call the Fashion Incubator Program. We have 3 fashion incubators up and running today: San Francisco, Chicago, and Philadelphia. We have 3 more that we expect to open within the next 12 to 18 months, Washington, D.C., Miami, and possibly Brooklyn. But the reason I mention this is we are taking young designers who have been out of school but need a little more tweaking on either the business or design side, and we're giving them a year at Macy's expense with all the training and introductions to the Tommy Hilfigers and everybody else, and then for them to stay here, to anchor their business here, and to manufacture here, so that all of that work kind of leads into what this question is about, but also on the greater scale, yes, we source out major vendors who produce within this country. This is really a test to see if I can read this writing. I used to be an associate at Macy's, and proud to be. One area where my customers became suspicious when I brought up opening a Star Rewards account. How does Macy's use the credit program to build brand, especially after the crash of 2008? That's a very, very good question. Thank you, number one, for your service to Macy's. But importantly, of course, about 90% of all transactions today are done by credit. So number one, it's very important that, like all other credit companies, you are in competition to give what the consumer expects out of a credit card: ease of use, universality of acceptance, and rewards. So we have continued to embellish the rewards program. Number one, by rewarding our associates when they offer to open a Macy's account and get that open. Number two, as the consumer, you with that card, we give all kinds of special offers and things to you for being a card holder, and then by level, depending upon the amount that you spend each year, we continue to reward you even further. So without going into too much depth, yes, we have embellished and continue to improve the rewards program. Why has Macy's declined to sign the Accord on Fire and Building Safety in Bangladesh Pact instead of preferring a pact that does not involve mandatory controls? Quite frankly, I don't know if I'm knowledgeable enough to speak on this at this point in time. It's an interesting question. If somebody will identify themselves after we're finished here, I will promise you that I'll get a personal answer back to you. But I do apologize, I'm not versed on that. Nobody wants any questions about the big balloons this year? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ed. That was excellent. You know, as you can see, Ed has just given us a great look at how a major consumer-facing company is tackling a wide array of issues that affect its risk profile, its reputation, and its brand. And I hope, too, as a sidebar, as you see as we talk today, how the Better Business Bureau's mission kind of weaves through all of this, because really when you say everybody gets up in the morning talking about protecting the brand, really that's what we're helping everybody do, we hope, is protect your brand.